Okay, on this tutorial I'm going to go through how to make a synth kick using Massive. You can apply this to any subtractive synthesizer, so if you don't have any of the native instrument synthesizers, you can use, for example, the ES2. It has the same principle. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is load up Massive, so if you just go down here, make sure it's in mono as you're making a kick drum and you want all your bass in your track to be in mono. Okay, the first thing you want to do is turn off all the other oscillators, including the modulation oscillator. Then you want to set the oscillator 1 to a sine wave, so set sine triangle or sine square, and then move the wavetable position all the way to the left. If you want to, you can mix in a bit of triangle wave to add some more harmonics. Not something I do. I prefer a cleaner sub, but do it to taste. The next thing you want to do, or what I do, is I'm just going to put a note in around the right pitch for the final fundamental of our kick. I use G sharp 0. So if I just put that in, already you can hear it. Nice and subby. Not much as it is, just sounds like a simple tone. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to shape the drum itself. So go to envelope 4, which is automatically assigned to amplitude. And lower the level all the way down, lower your release for the time being. Okay, the decay is the body of your kick drum, so once you've lowered the level and the release, when it's extended it'll just sound like a normal bass tone, but as we start to lower that in, it'll start to sound more like a drum. Obviously we can go really too far and just get a click. Also make sure the attack is set to straight away so we get a quick initial transient. I'm going to set mine to about there, just pointing at the D for a reference point. If you're not using Massive, just base your decision on the sound. Quite punchy. Now what you can do to just give the kick a bit more body is play around with the level and the release. These controls, including the decay, you adjust depending on the type of kick you want to make. So if you want to make an 808, you probably extend that more, the decay more, and extend the release more. And the more you want to go towards a dance style kick, the more you'll draw in the decay to make it more punchy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is play with the level and the release here. Try not to keep the kick on a constant repeat, otherwise your ears will become accustomed and you'll start doing stupid things. Maybe just raise this up. Okay, so there we have the general shape of the kick. Now obviously that doesn't sound much like a kick drum. There's no pitch change in it at all. We've just got the amplitude shape. Also set that to 1 shot. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to get the pitch of the sine wave we're using to start off high and then drop very quickly to the note that we put in originally. Okay, so to do this in Massive, get your envelope 3 or any of the other envelopes except envelope 4, put it into there and then move this up to 36. I use 36, some people use 24. I normally use 24 for maybe an 808, so there's less of a pitch change. And then set this to really quick, and then again just bring all these down just so you can start from scratch. And obviously that doesn't sound much like a kick, but as we draw it in it'll start to sound more like one. Getting there now. And obviously that's quite high pitched, and you can bring it down and get real thud. Okay, that sounds about right, about 1/4 to. Also play with the level and the release just to shape how the pitch changes just on the latter part of the kick drum. Maybe bring this up. That sounds about right. Maybe bring that down a little bit. Okay, right, so we've got the general shape of the kick drum. Now one of the advantages of using synthesizers, especially virtual synthesizers, is that you can play around with the signal and boost the signal a lot more than you could with a real recording, because when you boost a real recording, you're boosting the noise floor as well. But with virtual synthesizers, you don't suffer from that problem as much. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go over here to the EQ, turn it on, and we're going to drastically boost the lower shelf. And straight away we have a much more dancey, deep sounding kick. And also remember to set envelope 3 to 1 shot as well, to get a more realistic pitch envelope. Okay, so we've got a very basic kick drum there, and what you can do just to make it sound a little bit more clear and precise and to make it cut through the mix a little bit is to add an initial transient, an initial click. Now to do this you're going to use the noise oscillator down here. So the first thing you want to do is set it to bright noise and then set the colour all the way to the side. This means you get a very high pitched noise rather than a lot of low frequencies. And if I just turn off the first oscillator, you can hear what it sounds like if I just turn the amplitude up. Now again, it's still got kind of a kick amplitude envelope, and that's because obviously it's going through envelope 4. But what we want to do, we want to make that a lot more punchy and not have it extend for as long as the kick drum goes on. So choose one of the other envelopes and assign it to the amplitude. Turn the amplitude all the way down and then the modulation all the way up. And then again, have a very quick attack and then just lower your level and your release. Okay, obviously there's nothing there at the moment, so we increase the decay. And what you'll notice is that it's starting to sound quite a lot like a hi-hat, which is exactly what we want. I like to layer a subtle hi-hat over my kicks when I'm making them. Maybe just increase the release a little bit. And don't forget to set it to 1 shot. Okay, now if we play them together, we get that. Now, to my taste, I think the hat is not quite loud enough. So if you just turn the amplitude down a little on the oscillator one, maybe a bit too much, and just turn up the overall sound a little bit, and then we have a kick drum. Now I would personally normally layer in a transient from probably a sample kick or an acoustic kick drum just to give it a more realistic sound, but still to keep the punch of an electronic dance kick. But you may not want to, you may be going for a very synthesized drum sound. One more thing that I'll show you, obviously with the kick drum I'd run it through numerous processes, EQ, compression and a whole load of others, but I'll just show you how I'd EQ this. Okay, so the first thing I do, as you probably know, cut out all the subsonic frequencies that you can't hear. Now what you can do is doing a bit of EQing. Now I'm doing this EQing based on what I can hear through these headphones. Normally I'd be using my studio monitors, but then we get a feedback loop with the mic. I've also only got one of the headphones on, so if there's anything here that you preferred it before I tweaked it, by all means do what you did. Based on the headphones I'm wearing, I'm considering boosting around maybe there. And once again, we're benefiting from the fact that you can manipulate virtual signals a lot more. Okay, what you can do, what you'll notice with this kick and most synthesized kicks, it will have an initial transient that sounds quite boxy and almost sounds like someone's knocking on a piece of wood or knocking on a door. Now, some people like that, and sometimes I don't cut it out if it fits the kick. If it doesn't fit the kick, the best way to cut it out is to cut between 200 and 500 hertz. So if we go more towards the 200, maybe about there, quite drastically if you want to get quite a natural round kick, try that. Up a bit maybe. No, I prefer it there. Okay, and what you can also do is possibly boost a little bit higher, quite narrowly, to make sure that there's still an initial transient. Maybe a bit lower, a bit more. This will be quite subtle. Okay, there you go, and then you have your EQ. Now what you can do if you want to make that more punchy, or change the envelope at all at a later stage, because it might have too long a tail for your taste, simply just load it into the EXS24 or the sampler and manipulate it with the envelope in there. As I said, I normally layer over a transient from a real kick drum or a sample kick drum that has a very nice transient, but you can layer in whatever you like. Sometimes I use hi-hats, open and closed, maybe sometimes a reverse crash if you do it right, sometimes noise or any percussion that you think just gives your kick quite a unique sound, just layer it in Try and do it subtly so it still sounds like a kick drum. But there you go. Any questions in the comments?